Hey everybody, happy Tuesday night. I am Brenda Mullard from the Visual Art Academy. I wanted to just hop on here. I've had a lot of questions about painting tools, brushes, what each brush might do. I apologize, I kind of have a cold right now, so my voice isn't awesome, but we're going to do this anyway. So I'm going to talk a little bit about brushes. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they kind of work, what each one kind of does. And then, you can kind of play around and find your favorite. It does take some time to find your favorites of what you prefer. I am a flat brush girl. I like flat brushes best, but round brushes also have their place. So I am going to gather my supplies here, and I am going to just tilt my camera down so that y'all can see. There we go. So you can see that I have various brushes here and another tool that I will get to in a minute. So these are flat brushes. They are flat because they are rectangular. They are flat, you can see. These brushes, they all come in different sizes. Clearly, I have 4 different sizes here. And depending on the areas that you're painting or what you might be painting, each size has their purpose. So let's say that you're painting a really large area or you are blending a background with color. One of these large flat brushes is just what you're looking for to do the job. If you're filling in smaller areas, you can see the smaller flat brush. I've used this one multiple times. It does get stained because it's a white synthetic bristle. But these go great in small areas for blending and using value and all that kind of thing too. Now there are 2 different kinds of bristles. There are the synthetic bristles and there's natural bristles. These are all synthetic. I do not use natural bristles. They are too soft, too flimsy for me. I need something that can hold the structure of the paintbrush. And then I also, like to use it where it's a little bit more firm to be able to blend colors and do that sort of thing. So I only use the synthetic bristles. I prefer the white bristle. They do come in like brown and other colors. I don't know why I prefer the white. It's just a personal preference. So, but synthetic brushes are all pretty much the same. So these are flat brushes. Here's your good old-fashioned old toothbrush. I have used this thing for lots of spattering, lots of snow, lots of stars, lots of different texturing, and it worked great. It's just an old toothbrush. And kind of the more ratty, sometimes I find the better. These brushes are called round brushes. Now they come in a round shape. Lots of times they have a really nice point. Now this is a brand new brush. So if you can see, I had to kind of play around with the bristles just a little bit to soften up the bristles. There's a chemical in the bristles that they put in there before you use it when they ship it so that your bristles stay all nice and stiff and straight and they don't get all bent out of shape while it's in shipment. So you can see it's kind of got a tip on it. This is a larger round brush, and then I have a couple of other round brushes as well. Here's a very small one. These 2 are the same size, but this one's a little cleaner, clearly. But round brushes are really good for adding thin line detail or just line detail. Like I said, they kind of have their place. In painting, I do not like to use a round brush. It's just my personal preference. I would much rather use a flat brush to cover a large area when I'm painting. So these are great for outlining and making lines and things. This is a fan brush. As you can see, it's kind of like a fan. This is also synthetic. This brush is great for making textures, doing dry brushing when you need textures like fur or other kind of textures. It's really, really good for that. And then this is called a palette knife. Now we will be doing some palette knife painting later on, but this is a palette knife, and it's kind of fun because it's great for mixing colors on a palette, but it's also really fun to just paint with. Now you're not going to get detail-y, really tight kind of paintings with this kind of tool. Your paintings are going to be really, really loose, which, you know what, it's really fun to kind of play around with that idea. Flowers are really fun to paint with it. Landscapes are really fun to paint with it. But it's a new tool, it's a different tool, and most people don't usually use a palette knife, but every once in a while it's kind of fun just to play around with. So I'm going to show you real quick just how I use flat brushes and round brushes. So I have one of each here. I have a flat brush, and as you can see, when you just use the flat brush itself, you get nice wide strokes of paint. Okay. Now the great thing about a flat brush is I love to mix and blend with a flat brush. They just make mixing and blending, I think, a lot easier. So you can see I went from yellow to orange to red in just a couple of sweeps of my brush. And it covers a lot of area pretty quickly. And you can see that it blends out that paint really, really nicely. So that's my flat brush. If I go in and I use my round, like I said, are great for doing detail lines, and depending on the pressure that you use and the amount of paint that you have on your brush, you can get some pretty nice lines. You can really outline some things pretty nicely. You know, there's a lot of people that use round brushes for doing hand lettering. I am not an expert in hand lettering by any means, not even close. But you can see that you can get some really nice control by using a round brush. And it definitely has its purposes. A little hair in there. There we go. It definitely has its purposes. Now if we go with our fan brush, a fan brush, you can use it in different ways. Now there's different things that you can do with a fan brush, okay? You can add textures. You can dry brush and do almost like fur, like a fur texture. Trees, you can use this brush for trees. But you can see I'm kind of using it in different ways. I'm using right now on the side. If I use it at the tip, I can get thin lines, but that aren't perfect lines. And it's just kind of fun to play around with and kind of putz around with. So there's lots of different things you can do with a fan brush. And really it's just playing with it just to see what you can do. The palette knife. So when you use a palette knife, it's not about precision. Your paint's going to go on thicker. And lots of times when I use a palette knife, I do not use the bottled paint. I use the tube. This is the tube acrylic, and we'll get more into talking about different types of paints later on. But for just tonight, for the little bit of time I have to hop on here, I just wanted to show you some of the painting tools. And you can see, it's kind of fun because you can already see some little petals kind of starting just with a few little strokes. And you know, you just kind of let it set and do its thing. And that's when you go in and you can add details and things too if you wanted to. I don't have any white on my palette, but if I did, I would go in with a little bit of white and I would add white around the edge. A round brush is kind of nice too. If you choose to do painting where you have two colors, if you load your brush with two different colors, lots of times you can twist your brush, you can turn your brush, you can get with a larger round brush, You can get petals, you can get leaves. You can see that I can twist and get two tones all at one time. I know way back when tool painting was a really big deal. So, and had some really ugly colors together, but that's okay. So this is great for just kind of playing around, just to see, you know, what you can do with your tools. I didn't show the toothbrush, but getting watered down acrylic and just kind of spatter painting makes a mess. I would highly suggest being in some place where you don't have a lot of counter space, where it's all kind of protected, so you don't get stuff all over the place. But that's just a quick overview on brushes. So I just wanted to hop on here really quick, just to kind of give you an overview. I'm going to just check and see what questions we might have, if we have any questions. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jeannie, or Jeannie, sorry. Hey, Jeannie, how's it going? So we're going to aim it back down here again. Yeah, and then, of course, you know, care for your brushes and your tools is really important, because if I would leave my tools with the paint in and not wash them out, of course, they would be trash. And so you always want to make sure that you are washing your brushes out with a very mild soap, some cool water. Always use 2 hands to wash your brushes. People, when I've taught classes, will take and put their brush under a sink in water and expecting the sink to clean it for them, and that does not happen. So just making sure that you are using plenty of soap, plenty of water, making sure that the water running through your brush is nice and clear when you're done. And then also make sure that when you store your brushes, I'm going to grab my brush cup here. You always want to store your brush with brush side up. You never want to put your brushes down in your cup or wherever you're storing them, simply because your brush will be ruined. Because what will happen is your brush will sit like this, and it will dry, and it will be curved, and it will be trash. You will not be able to use it. And it's really, really, really tough to bring a dead brush back to life again. So the better that you can take care of your tools, the easier it's going to be later on for you while you are using your paint, and the much longer time you'll have your supplies with you. I mean, there's some brushes I've had for probably a good 10 years at least, and they're still going strong. So from time to time, it is nice to get new brushes when the tips wear out, or when some of the you know, here's a flat brush. This one's been used and abused for sure, and it's not quite as nice and put together as what it was at one time. But if I am doing just a flat color in one area, this will do fine, and I will continue to use it. So he stays in my brush, or in my cup. So I hope that's helpful. I hope if you have any questions, please, please, please put them in the comment section, and I will come on in here and I will be able to jump in and answer any questions. If you see this as a replay, also if you could do #replay, that way I know that you were able to see it okay. And still, if you have questions as you see it as a replay, please feel free to let me know if you need help, questions, you have a question about a certain technique that you're using, what kind of brush you need for that. I'm happy to jump in and help. So thanks for watching here for a few minutes. I hope this was helpful, and we will see you very, very soon.